What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. Last Thursday, I saw Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is the 14th film in a Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe started in 2008 with Iron Man, and now we are into Phase 3. This is the second film in Phase 3. It started off with Captain America Civil War, which came out earlier this year. And by the time you got to the end of Captain America Civil War, you realize that things are about to change in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Avengers have broken up, and now we are introduced to a brand new character, which is eventually going to join the Avengers. That would be Doctor Strange. Scott Derrickson, coming out of horror films, is the director for Doctor Strange, and I think he's the perfect director for this film because he gives us a whole bunch of very unique visuals. Doctor Strange is played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and I think he's the perfect choice for Doctor Strange. This was perfect casting, and he does a fantastic job playing the character. Now, as for the rest of the cast, I think they were all quite decent, but not everybody. As a matter of fact, even though the casting of the Ancient One by Tilda Swinton was quite controversial, I thought she did an excellent job playing her role. Chiwetel Ejiofor also did a great job. But I gotta say that Mads Mikkelsen, a really great actor, didn't really bring anything to the table when he was cast as Caecilius. I thought that he was a very generic Marvel Cinematic Universe villain, and that he is quite weak. This film suffers from the weak villain syndrome, which has plagued the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a while. It is only until we got to Captain America Civil War where we were introduced to a very different and unique type of villain. Anyways, Caecilius isn't exactly a villain that is quite memorable, but at least we got to see Mads Mikkelsen added into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, as for Rachel McAdams, who plays Christine Palmer, she was kind of weak as well. Unfortunately, she doesn't really add much to the table, and if you took her character out of the film, it's kind of the same film. It doesn't really change things up. So, other than those two characters, I thought everybody else did a great job. Even Benedict Wong, who plays Wong, he actually is a pretty likable character. In fact, I think that he would play a bit of a favorite amongst the fans. Now, as for the story, even though we're dealing with a very unique and different type of character, the story is really quite formulaic, unfortunately. The story is kind of like Iron Man and Ant-Man, the generic origin story. You got a character who's kind of like Tony Stark, arrogant, rich, has everything, and then he goes through an incident which changes his life, and he reluctantly becomes a hero. And that is something that we've seen in Iron Man, we've seen it in Ant-Man. This story is really quite formulaic. We've seen this type of thing before. Now, I don't think it's a bad thing, it's just that it doesn't really bring anything new and unique in terms of storytelling. However, there is one thing that I found that really makes this film stand out, and that is the action and the visuals. The visuals are absolutely jaw-dropping. I think that Scott Derrickson really knew what he was trying to do when directing this film. He wanted to bring really mind-bending, trippy visuals to really display the amazing artwork that was brought to all the comic book readers from Steve Ditko. He does just that. Now, speaking of which, this film is very true to a lot of the source material. And I say a lot of the source material because it takes and borrows from a lot of the different Stephen Strange, or rather Doctor Strange, comic books. And it does that so well in terms of bringing not just the story elements, but the visuals. The visuals are out of this world. very, very psychedelic, and I felt that what he was trying to do was that he was trying to have that psychedelic visuals as the backdrop for some very, very unique style of action. Now, what they introduced to the story was a lot of this kind of, I like to call it mystical martial arts, and it's so cool. It's really, really cool because you bring in this this martial arts fighting, but it is complemented with magic, and it is really, really dynamic. It's really, really, I just gotta say, it looks really, really cool when you watch it on the screen, combined with those amazing visuals that was created and conceptualized by Industrial Light and Magic and Scott Derrickson's creative mind. It just looks like a giant mind trip, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen before. Combined with the great looking 3D presented in IMAX, oh my god, those action sequences were just absolutely incredible. They're jaw-dropping. And as soon as I saw that opening sequence, an opening action sequence, it just really set the bar for the film. It just kind of set the tone for what this film was going to be like. And when I was watching it, I was like this. Wow, it just really provided things that we've never seen before. I mean, we're so used to seeing high-flying superheroes that are shooting like lasers and machine guns at each other, and also super soldiers just beating each other to a pulp. This is something very, very new and unique. And I'm glad that we got to finally see Doctor Strange, and has brought forth to us from a very talented actor, a very, very creative visual director. Even though it comes with a very generic and formulaic story, I don't think it hurts the film that much. I think that with it being an origin story, it's something that is expected. Now, the only other thing that I want to add to this review is that the third act of this film was something that I really, really didn't expect. I'm so used to seeing giant big battles that we're so used to seeing in a lot of the final acts of a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films and a lot of superhero films. This is something very different, and I think that it works for this film, especially for this character. What we got to see was an extension of what the character was able to do, and I felt that it was very, very appropriate, different, unexpected, and had me thinking, but definitely something that worked. So I liked what they did with that, with how they handled the climactic battle. Another thing that I'd like to add was that, okay, for a character like Stephen Strange doing a transition into Doctor Strange, the superhero, I felt that it was a little bit rushed. I kind of didn't find it as believable in the sense that he was able to become this person into this superhero. It just felt rushed, and it felt like it should have taken a little bit more time. Now, I found out that it was a transition that took over the course of several months, as a matter of fact, but they didn't do a good job in really exhibiting the fact that it took that long. I felt that when I was watching the film, it was just a matter of days, but they didn't display that very, very well. But anyways, other than that, those are the only flaws that I can think of. I really, really enjoyed this film. I'm glad that Marvel is doing very, very different things other than, you know, some very formulaic origin storytelling. This was still something very, very unique. And this is a must-see film, especially if you are a fan of the comics. You gotta check it out. If you're a fan of comic book films, gotta check this out. And if you want to see some incredible and crazy, mind-tripping IMAX 3D visuals, this is some of the best 3D that I've ever seen. And as a matter of fact, the 3D enhances the storytelling. It enhances the visual experience. So you gotta check it out in 3D if you can. And if you gotta check it out in IMAX 3D, especially since there's over 60 minutes of IMAX exclusive footage. So there you have it. I'm going to give this film a 9 out of 10. I also intend to check it out once more. And there you have it. That's all I got to say in this review. And I'm going to do a spoiler review next. So I'm going to talk about all the things that I really, really enjoyed about this film and some things that didn't quite work for me. Oh, I forgot to mention that the humor felt a little bit forced. Okay, I know that with the Marvel films, they want to make it a little bit more funny and humorous. I found that half of the humor worked, and the other half was just kind of just thrown into the script like at the last minute because they found that the script wasn't funny enough, so they decided to just throw it in, and it felt a little bit forced. It wasn't very natural, but that's the only thing I could really point out about the humor, and that's it. So anyways, that's all I gotta say in this review. Once again, 9 out of 10. And as always, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Great job with the directing and also his vision for the film. The film is essentially divided into two halves. You got the first half where there's no battle taken